dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle. And let's begin exploring the wine glass. Welcome to Winephabet Street. Today, the letter of the day is S, and it stands for San Marco. Have you ever heard of this grape? Have you tasted it? This was a brand new variety to me, and I was so intrigued to learn more and then so impressed once I tasted it. In fact, I took a bottle to an event filled with wine professionals, and it was the hit of the evening. We had the pleasure of interviewing Jim Quarella and Larry Coia from Bellview Winery in New Jersey. These are the guys not only responsible for bringing the vines to the United States, but for naming the variety. While you're listening, it would be greatly appreciated if you could take 1 minute to subscribe, rate, and review. It takes only a few seconds of your time, but means so much to the show. Next best way to support Exploring the Wine Glass is to tell your friends, because if you love the podcast, your wine-loving friends will too. Follow me on all the socials, and finally, don't forget to head to the website, exploringthewineglass.com, to read the blog, sign up for the newsletter, and keep up on everything happening. Sláinte!
Give me the red wine. Give me the blanche wine.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, champagne and Côte d'Aron specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
That was no brandy. That was no martini.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Winephabet Street. We hope you are enjoying your summer thus far and surviving the heat that is everywhere. But here on Winephabet Street is the cool kids are, because we have guest sponsors of Bellview Winery from New Jersey, and we are talking San Marco. So I have to admit, I had never had this grape before, so I'm super excited to learn all about this. And as we get into it, just as a little reminder or a new thing, if you are new to Winephabet Street, I am your co-host, Lori. I am a co-owner with my husband, Dracena Wine in Paso Robles. I have a WSET Level 2 champagne specialist, Côte d'Aron specialist, and a Spanish wine scholar, as well as a UC Davis winemaking program graduate. And we are excited to try this San Marco. And my co-host is Deb.
I'm Debbie Giaquindo, and I have to admit I've cheated because back in 2020, I was on a New Jersey media trip, and it was the only, I think, wine media trip during COVID. And that's where I learned about the San Marco grape. So when we came up to S, that's why I said, "Oh, San Marco." And Lori's like, "I've never heard of that." I go, "I got it." So I am known as the Hudson Valley Wine Goddess. I am a certified specialist of wine, a wine location specialist in Port and Champagne, and a certified sherry wine specialist. I'm a chairperson for the Hudson Valley Wine Competition. I'm author of the book, Tapping the Hudson Valley, Day Trips and Weekend Itineraries, Visiting the Hudson Valley Wine Region. And in the summer, you can find me chained to Trio North Wildwood, our restaurant in North Wildwood, New Jersey. So you can come down and visit me there. That's where I spend 6 out of 7 days of the week. And best times to visit are any day but Friday and Saturday. We're the most crowded. So, Jim and Larry, do you want to introduce yourselves a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. I'm Jim Quarella, Bellview Winery. I'm actually fourth generation here on Bellview Farms. The property was bought back in 1914 by my great grandparents. We were a vegetable farm until 2000, when my wife Nancy and I decided to switch and start growing grape and making wine commercially. So that's when we started Bellview Winery. So when the first 3 acres were planted, that was 2000 was our first vintage. And that's just a little bit about me. And then Larry and Barb Coia, I'll turn it over to Larry. He came in. Well, I should back up a little bit. Larry and I have been partners since I got into the grape business. We bought equipment together. We formed the Outer Coastal Plain Vineyard Association together. We've got our AVA, the Outer Coastal Plain AVA, approved through the federal TTB, or was it TTB at that time? So this is Larry Coia.
So I've been growing grapes since '76, including some vinifera. I'm a retired radiation oncologist, and in 2006, Jim helped me plant 5 acres of red varieties of Chambourcin, Cabernet Franc, and Cab Sauvignon. And then I retired completely in 2013 and have been growing grapes ever since with my son, not too far from here in East Vineland, New Jersey, about 3 or 4 miles away. And then my wife and I bought into the winery with Jim a couple years ago, Jim and Nancy. So co-owner of Bellevue with Jim.
Hey, wonderful.
Oh, that is great.
Wineland, they have a great swim team.
So that pretty much, explains how the two of you became partners through just a long-term relationship.
Right. How did you officially meet, though?
Well, probably, I think it was one of our relatives. It was my great aunt Ada, and she was born. Well, was she born here? Yes, she was born right here on this farm. And the farm behind us was Larry's mom's family. So once they knew that we grew grape, they had to make the introduction, and that's where it started.
So that was around 2000. It's about 24 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So, go to 3, Deb.
Okay. So how did you become involved with the San Marco grape? Because,
actually, though, Deb, we forgot Elmo.
Oh, we forgot Elmo.
So we're gonna do our little intro video, and I'm dying to clink. So we're gonna do our video, and then we will clink, and then we'll get into the questions.
Okay.
We start with A, B, C, and we go all the way to C. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Each letter makes a sound. Let's sound them out now. We start with A, B, C, and we go all the way to C.
That's nice.
That is intense.
Yeah. So how did Bellview Winery get involved in the San Marco grape?
So as we said, Larry became partners at the winery a couple years ago, but we've been working together for years. So I'm going to let Larry tell you about his trip over to Italy and how this all came about.
So would you like to hear a little history about the San Marco grape?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we formed this Outer Coastal Plain Vineyard Association after we got the AVA, the Outer Coastal Plain AVA, approved around 2007. We got grants. We saw that there were some similarities between our growing area and 2 regions in particular in Europe. One was Bordeaux, and I have to say a plug, even though we're drinking San Marco from Italy. We had a famous professor from Bordeaux come and visit our vineyards back in 2010. And the word is that if he were to plant Bordeaux varieties anywhere outside of Bordeaux, it would be southern New Jersey in the Outer Coastal Plain.
Interesting.
Because we have so many similarities. But we're not talking about Bordeaux today. We're talking about the other region that we identified, and that was the Trentino Alto Adige region of northern Italy. It is some of the coldest weather in Italy in the wintertime and some of the hottest weather in Italy in the summertime. Not too dissimilar from what we see in New Jersey. And their extremes aren't that extreme. I mean, we don't have 100-degree weather. They don't have 100-degree weather. They don't have many days where it would be below 0 degrees Fahrenheit in the wintertime. So there are a lot of similarities between our climate and even our soil, even though it's mountainous there. In 2011, I visited Verona and made contact with Marco Stefanini, who is he's a researcher developing different varieties of grapes for Italians. And he had developed a number of grapes in the 90s, including this grape, which we call San Marco, in the mid 90s. And even though it was 25 years later, Italians didn't have a big interest in it. There were a few places that had planted it and said, hey, this is very promising, but they have to go through a lot of red tape to get things accepted. And so I tried the wine. I heard that it was very productive. I heard that somewhat disease resistant. It's totally disease resistant to Botrytis. So I said, could we bring these to the United States, form a business relationship? And that's the background of it. Subsequently, we got them imported through California. They spent a couple years in quarantine. They were then released to us in Rutgers, and then we sent them to a nursery in New York State, AA, that would propagate them for us. We've been growing them here for about 9 years, since 2015. And Bellview is the only one who's made vintages so far. We've got 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 24 is to come. So this will be our 5th vintage.
So you were the first person or the first winery vineyard to cultivate the San Marco in the United States, correct?
Yeah, that would be our vineyard and Rutgers. Subsequently, there's 3 or 4 that came on within 2 or 3 years. Now there's probably 10 in New Jersey, but there's also one in Delaware, one in Maryland, one in North Carolina, maybe 2 in North Carolina.
Really?
We've got requests as far away as Georgia. But it's going to take them some time to develop the wine from it. Obviously, it takes 3 or 4 years just for the first grapes to come out to produce a vintage.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, and so in terms of the history of the grape itself, you just said you met the guy who created this, who crossed them. So how cool is that? I want to invent the grape. I want to do that. I want to create one. But what is the history? Why did he decide he wanted to cross it? To cross those two, and what was he thinking about as he was doing this?
Well, again, his name is Marco Stefanini, and he does traditional techniques where he takes the pollen and fertilizes the ovary. Very slow, painstaking. From that, you get the seeds. You plant that. You get tons of different varieties just from those crossings, and then he plants those and decides which ones might be productive, good for the climate, somewhat disease resistant, etc. And so it took many years for these to be developed. And as I said, when I went there, it was 20 years after it had been developed, and the Italians were just starting to, look at this as a possible variety. But you have to remember, Italians have over 400 native varieties in Italy, so they didn't really need another variety. But it's always good to look for, especially with climate change, et cetera, to look for varieties that might, withstand the heat more, cost less to take care of. And, frankly, we are the only ones that call this San Marco. The Italians don't call this San Marco. They've told us, we wish we could call it as simple a name as San Marco. It's easy to pronounce, but it's still called Eco Iasma Uno, which means it's a big set of numbers. It's still experimental. So it's not on the market in Italy. It is not on the market as San Marco. Absolutely not. It might be like Antinori is growing some. I think mostly in Friuli it's being grown, but some in Tuscany. But it's not on the market as a single variety at all. No, we're the only ones in the world.
Is it used for blending?
Yes.
Yeah, it has excellent color, tannin structure, as you can see. So I would say, like Larry said, they're not producing it as a varietal, but they're probably growing it there and using it in blends or fanciful name wines instead of varietal. Yeah, because so Marco, actually, you don't hear much about reds from northern Italy, but Toronto and Lagrind are like their two best. So that's the parentage of San Marco is Toronto and Lagrind.
So can you tell us?
Good color.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us what you think the two grapes parents give to this wine.
Oh, what they contributed to this?
Yes.
Geez. I couldn't say specifically. I mean, it was a match made in heaven, maybe something like that. How's that?
I would say maybe Lagrind more the tannins and the Toronto more the fruit. If you want just general terms.
Right. Right.
This is darker than either one of those.
Yeah, because we did Lagrind. We did Lagrind on Winephabet Street, and it's a much lighter color.
Yes. We had an so-called international wine summit in Atlantic City last month, and we tasted blindly a number of wines, but there were a number of Italian sommeliers who were there, some from Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and we had a little difficulty in the blind testing telling the difference between our San Marco and their Refosco. So there's some similarities to Refosco. I think there's also some similarities to Syrah. This Syrah has their linked backgrounds to the parentage of Syrah in this.
I would say the color, because the rim is very deep purplyish, similar to a Syrah.
Yeah. See, so the color to me actually reminds me of a Petit Verdot. Especially the 2022. This is inky. This is much no different. Yeah,
this
there's
is
like no
much
difference in the rim.
There is a little difference, but
yeah. So
how would you
tell us? I'm sorry, Deb. I want to drink. So I
want you to describe the tasting profile of the.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Describe the tasting profile.
Oh,
that's a sommelier's job.
Yeah.
We just
we just make it good. That's all. Well, since we've only have 4 vintages or so, we're trying not to do a whole lot with it, trying to really let it express itself as a varietal and the vineyard. So we don't. Oak is real. It's neutral oak. The 22 had more of a tannin structure, little coarser. So we did do some egg white findings with that. But most of the time we're just kind of letting it do its own thing so we can really see what it does and then work with it from there.
I get a lot of like black cherry in the 21.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tasted the 22 yet.
Definitely dark fruit, the dark cherry, plum.
Yeah.
One of the things that pleased us a whole lot was that in 2020 we had what we don't like to call them bad vintages, but it was
challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenging year.
It
was a challenging year. Bellevue made really good wine from it, and that might be one of them that you might have tasted it because I'm not sure.
We were there.
Yeah. If it was back 3 or 4 pre-COVID or during COVID, it was probably the 2020.
And for a very difficult year, it's a very nice wine. So we're very pleased about that.
Yeah, a lot of reds we didn't bottle that year. We grow over 20 varieties of grape, and fortunately, we do not have to bottle vintage every year. So if it doesn't make the wine up to our standard, we don't have to bottle it as a varietal. We can blend it and do whatever we need to do with it.
Right.
But San Marco was one that we didn't have to worry about that.
Marco Stefanini said that in a really good year, you can keep it in oak for a longer period of time, and it can be a fine wine as a single variety, not necessarily blended.
Yeah. No, we'll focus on making it as a varietal because it'll be one of our signature varietals.
And it's only 12.3% alcohol, so that's nice. It's a nice lower alcohol. And is this 2021 100%?
No, this has a little bit of the 21 has a little bit of Chamberson in it. So what we do, now the 22 has Merlot, because what we'll do is we'll do blind bench tests to the varietal is straight up, the varietal with a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, just to see if it another variety can help round it out, complement it. And so the 21 went that direction. The 22 has Merlot, just 10% Merlot in it.
That would help lower.
Doesn't always have to have something in it.
And also, you're saying it would help lower the intensity of the tannin if you felt that those tannins were too gripping in 2022. That Merlot
Softened it.
Yeah, and then, like I said, we're still going to spend several months in neutral oak before we bottle that, just to help it round out more.
And so you mentioned that, New Jersey is so similar to Alto Adige. Like, what about the soils, the climate, the geographical influences? Because, I mean, that Debbie's, in New Jersey, and I'm originally from there. So I'm familiar with New Jersey, but to me, the climatics, the influences, the mountains and all of that are very different. And, it's high altitude where you guys are low altitude. And so how do those things interact with each other?
Well, they're not growing these on the mountains for the most part. They're growing them mostly along the Po River in the river valley. There are some that are on the hillsides, no question about it. I'm not sure where they ultimately want to plant San Marco. I mean, we saw some on a hillside, but I think there's a lot. We also saw a lot, on along, not the Po River, the Adige River. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it seems like most of their production is down in the valley. There was the couple vineyards we saw up, with 1,000 foot up or so. It was more or less somebody had a little piece of property up there and they were planting a few grape on it. Not that, that's where your main vineyards were.
And so our growing season and their growing season are about 200 days. That's the frost-free period where it's, above 32 degrees. And I said before, our winter temperatures and summer temperatures aren't a whole lot different. Rainfall, at least annually, is about the same. Maybe we get a little bit more in August. Just like in Bordeaux, we get more than Bordeaux. The soil, they actually told us sandy loam is what they grow this in. And that's what we have. And we have a lot of gravel here too, which really helps drainage.
Right.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, the other thing that really impressed us in the vineyard is its disease resistance.
So it doesn't get moldy or downy?
No botrytis.
No botrytis. We've seen just a little bit of downy when other varieties are just getting loaded with it. Powdery mildew has not been an issue on it.
The bunches are loose, very beautiful, big bunches. Sort of like Syrah. It sort of grows like Syrah. That's why there's no question there's a relationship.
That's kind of like what you would relate it to if you had to relate San Marco to a certain grape.
I would say so.
So Syrah, at least here, is like a weed. It's it just grows and grows and grows. What in the vineyard itself? How much tending to the vine do you need to do? Are you dropping fruit? Are you greenbacking? What are how many times are you passing through?
Yeah, it grows kind of like Syrah. It doesn't grow like Chardonnay straight up in the air. It kind of wants to go where it wants to go. Fortunately, with our soils, our sandy loam soils, and they dry out quick. So they grow when they get when we get too much rain, then the vine grows too much. Like a year like this, we hedged once so far.
Yep.
Probably in another week or so, we'll have to go in and hedge a second time. As far as fruit load, we just have to see what's set on there, and then we'll drop we'll drop fruit early, and then we'll come back probably and do a green harvest. If we see certain bunches are not maturing right, we'll drop them off. So we always evaluate our crop load to our canopy, how good our canopy is, but yields are probably 3 ton. We keep most of our yields around 3. If the canopy's beautiful and the vintage looks like it, the growing season is great, we might bump it up a little bit. But that's
I drop fruit. Otherwise, we'd have a higher yield. So we definitely drop fruit. Yeah. Like Jim said, I've only hedged once, and I can tell you I've got Chardonnay here and the San Marco right next to it, and I got to go through and hedge that Chardonnay again because it's just fallen over the rail. But at this point in time, anyway, the San Marco is growing straight. I mean, it's really looking nice. In the beginning of the year, it tends to grow sideways like Syrah, and you got to push it up. But it's kind of neat because you push it up and you see all these clusters coming down of the newly formed fruit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's actually, it's more labor intensive, but it's better if you have a variety that sets more fruit than you want, because it'll slow the vegetative growth down for you.
Yep.
And then you come back in and drop the fruit to the load you want.
That's definitely my Chardonnay. Yep.
There's only so much energy that vine has, and the more fruit it has, it's got to divvy that up. And then you go back and you green drop it, and then it goes to where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if it's been easy going growing it, because there have been some setbacks that are almost not setbacks, but they've hampered our ability to grow it. One is that in 2020, the year of the virus for everybody, it was also discovered that Pinot Gris virus was lurking in 80% of our San Marco. And we contacted Marco Stefanini and the Italians, and they said, it's not a big deal. It doesn't affect the vine. And we tested ours, and 80% had it. But symptoms of it, when it actually does affect the vine, are stippling of the leaves, weakening of growth. It affects ultimately the production level and the sugar level. We've tested year after year for 5 years now, and there's absolutely no difference between, or 4 years, no difference between those that are affected by the Pinot Gris virus and those that are not affected by it.
So this Pinot Gris virus, does it normally just attack Pinot Gris? Is that why it's called that?
I think it must be expressed more in Pinot Gris.
It's expressed more in Pinot Gris. It's not that it was only in the San Marco. I mean, UC Davis had to redo their whole clean plant block because they found this virus in there. That's the problem when you can detect a new virus, you're going to find it probably all over the place.
That's right. They didn't come out with this till 2013 for the test for it, and then we didn't hear about it until 2020, I guess. But do you think
maybe that the virus was when it was in quarantine? It was caught when it was in quarantine in California?
No, they did not find it because there was no test for it at that time. They weren't testing for it. And now the Italians don't even test for it because he said, at least not in San Marco. They said, this does not affect San Marco production. And as far as we're concerned, it doesn't affect San Marco production. There are some people who have Pinot Gris planted next to San Marco that are concerned. We have it. It hasn't jumped, but.
And then I don't even know if we have the vector that could transmit it from one vine to the other here.
Right.
It's like Pierce disease, or what do you have out there? The sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah. It's like, so we don't have that here.
That sharpshooter is getting out of control. Yeah. But it's traveling also. It's being found in more and more places. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting because I mean we don't have Pinot Gris, so I didn't even know there was a Pinot Gris virus.
I didn't
So,
either. That was new to me too.
but I guess there can be a virus for anything, and you just hope it doesn't jump. So did you say your Chardonnay does have it, and it doesn't affect the Chardonnay either?
No, it's also in Trentina. Trentina is our white variety that's a cross of Muscat Alessandria and a Malvasia, and that's another grape that we brought over. When you get back to M's again, T's, we'll have to do Trentina for you because it's a really nice floral grape.
Sounds good. We'll hold you up to it.
Yeah.
But that has it. It's a white grape, and it is not affected by the virus, even though over 90% of those have it. And one of the things I should mention is you have to remember that Trentino Alto Adige is a big time grower of Pinot Grigio. That's
Right.
Santa Margherita. So it actually originated there. That's where they first found this virus.
Okay.
Wow.
Hence the name.
Yeah. It definitely came over with the cuttings, and it just
Yes.
wasn't.
Yes.
It might have been dormant, and then it.
But I want to clarify that. I don't think it wasn't isolated only in the San Marco. They found this Pinot Gris virus in majority of the varieties they were growing there. So it didn't. We're not going to take credit for importing that.
Oh no, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
No.
I meant that they didn't know to test for it when it came over.
That is correct. That is exactly right.
So, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not finding anything.
Yeah. And if a plant's not showing any symptoms, you're not looking for anything.
Exactly.
Right.
Business
And
as
we
usual.
we can't talk about anything because we had the big Graciano goof here in Paso. Everybody was growing Mourvèdre, and it was Graciano.
Ah.
They don't even look alike. So
So with
we
this wine,
can't, stick our necks out into anything. So.
We're also looking for a wine that's of Italian origin that grows well in this region. We grow Sangiovese. It does okay if you have the right clone. We grow some Barbera and some Nebbiolo. They grow okay, but not every year. So this is something I think could produce well for us every year. I mean, this is really a nice wine.
And that's very important to us, consistency.
Right.
Some varieties might give you a beautiful wine 2 out of 5 years. Well, that's just not good enough.
Right.
It's just not good enough. So.
right. What do you think you would pair this wine with, food wise?
What it would pair well with?
Yeah.
You're asking probably not the right guy, because if the wine tastes good and the food tastes good and they are like on the same level spice wise and everything, I would say this is very versatile. And
I think so too.
Being of Italian heritage, I'm a little prejudiced. The Italian wines normally have the right acidity to go with just about any food. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you think it would go with.
I'm thinking this would go well. This would go well with pasta, spaghetti, meatballs, Sunday gravy, or whatever. I'm thinking meatloaf.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Looking to be in the know about Dracaena wines? Want to be the first to know about our new releases and special offers? All you need to do is sign up for our newsletter. There is no commitment necessary, and I promise you we won't spam your mailbox with loads of messages. Need another reason to sign up? Quite possibly the best reason? You'll immediately get a discount code for 10% off your first purchase and be privy to newsletter-only discounts. Let Dracaena Wines turn your moments into great memories. Visit our website, www.dracaenawines.com, or use the link in show notes to sign up. It will take you less than a minute, but the rewards will last a lifetime. Yeah, I'm thinking and Debbie's going to laugh because I don't eat this stuff, but I'm thinking like a crusted, tenderloin, something. What's the thing that you wrap the meat,
in the puff pastry?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
right.
is. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
It'll come.
but that's what I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. I can see it I can also see it in game.
Yes.
It's more the 2022 than the 21.
But you know what, Laura, you appreciate this. I can see this in a bean dish. Like bean tacos, stuff like that, like black beans.
I agree.
I guess that
A lot of things.
Yeah, we could say, well, what would we not serve this with?
There
Maybe
you
not
go.
flounder. I don't think
I
I
don't
serve
think
with
I
flounder.
served this was with fish.
Yeah, like a salmon, probably.
Salmon you probably could get away with, but any white fish, I think it would be too overpowering.
I needed something fatty. I actually think porchetta, a nice porchetta would be wonderful.
Yes, I think
I
so
don't
too.
even know what that is.
It's pork.
Oh, okay.
Think roasted pork.
Okay. Vegetarian here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
when you throw out the fancy names of meats, I don't know what they are. Yeah, so there is a as I'm drinking them both, there's a distinctiveness between the two, the 21 and the 22, and it's just, even the nose is different.
Yeah, I think the 22 you have more herbal notes, more spicy notes.
Mm-hmm.
Where the 21 is definitely black cherry.
Yeah, I get it as it's opening up a little more. I'm also getting like a licorice, like a black
in the 21.
in the 21.
And you can definitely tell though the 22 is much younger wine. It's more, it's a little bit, I don't want to say lighter, but it's just, you can definitely tell it's younger, and the 21 is a little bit more mature.
Yeah, the tannins are a bit grippier in the 22. It's younger, but if you get past that grippiness, I get more fruit in the 2022 than the 2021. I think. I mean, I'm actually loving them both, but my style, I'm gearing more towards that 22.
Yeah, 22 is really a great growing season.
It's a very special vintage.
Yeah. I joke in the tasting room, I tell people when I serve our 2022 Chenin Blanc, I tell them that Mother Nature was saying, I'm sorry for 20 and 21. That she gave us two vintages that we're all pulling our hair out as winemakers between for us all of the fires in 2020 and then an 18-day heat spike over 105 degrees at the worst time in 2021. So I was like, she finally said in 2022, I'm sorry, here's a nice vintage for you. On your website, you actually you mentioned on the website phenolics and anthocyanins, and we get some people listen to Book Dev's podcast and come on the webinar who are trying to learn the terminology of winemaking and what it is. So can you please explain why you call those two out for San Marco and what you think, like, how would you explain that to our listeners?
Actually, the Foundation Edmund Mock, where Marco Stefanini works, profiles their wines very nicely, looking at the phenolics and anthocyanins in particular. Anthocyanins are really the main contributor to the color, and phenolics and anthocyanins are both antioxidants. So that's why a lot of people concentrate on that.
Okay, thank you.
So go ahead, Lori.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did that backwards.
Okay.
So the other thing is you had mentioned that it's not called San Marco in Italy.
Yes.
And so there's quite a few regions that have had grape varieties that were named as the region itself, as a city or whatever. So like Ria Spicius in Albarino, and Glera and Prosecco. And when the EU came in, they're like, nope, can't do that. So do you think that that's why it's not called San Marco there?
Well, and there's several reasons why you can't call it San Marco in Italy. One, although the researcher's name is Marco, you cannot name a wine with the first name of a person in Italy. That's what I've been told, which is crazy.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
You can't use that. Second, there is already a winery in Italy called San Marco Winery. So I guess there would have been a conflict with that as well. So what they call it now is ECO, ECO, which is like ecologic. And then IASMA is the Italian word for the Foundation Edmund Muck. It's Institute Agrario San Michele al Adige. And then then they have a number after it, 1. That was the first one of these that they're producing. We actually asked them to develop a name for this first. And they were going to have a contest amongst their students, et cetera. It just didn't happen. And after 3 years, we said, we're ready to sell this stuff. You know, you don't have a name. He said, just name it what you want to. So, I mean, we had to go through the, what did we go through, Jim? We had to get it as a proprietary name, and then we had to get it registered. This is a registered name. It's a real grape.
It's a registered varietal name. Yeah, I think we didn't have that for the first bottling, so we just used San Marco as a fanciful name on the label. But then we went through the process. You know, you had to show how many acres were grown and that it's, you know, it's been produced commercially, and then they accepted San Marco as the varietal name. So it's registered now. Anybody that grows San Marco.
You guys are the founders of it then here.
In the States.
Right. You know what would be
awesome.
funny? If the Italians call it San Marco because it's registered in the United States as San Marco.
Yeah.
That would be really funny. I don't know if they could do
That
that.
would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know.
But the name thing is interesting. Sorry, the name thing is interesting because, you know, Darif was named after the person who created Darif, which is Petit Syrah. And the Americans changed it. They didn't want it to be Darif, so they named it to Petit Syrah, which I think is the stupidest thing on the face of the earth because now everybody thinks it's just small berries of Syrah.
Right.
You know, but that's interesting that you can't, you know, the winery makes sense, I guess.
That's what I was told. They were very envious that we could just name it like this.
United States, the wild west of the winemaking world.
Yeah. What do you think the aging potential is of the San Marco wine?
I think it's great. I really do. From what Marco said, if you could age it in oak for a year and a half or 2, it'll last for a while. And for me, with all the phenolics and the tannins in it, I think it has great potential.
I would say 10 years is just starting to get it to where you really want it. I mean, almost all the reds we grow here have showed such aging potential. It's something else. We have our library, our cellar that we keep a library in, and we'll pull bottles out that are 15 years old. And that's actually when we were, you know, the vineyards were young, we were young, or, you know, our processing was young, but the wines are they're showing great potential. So
Chambersan in particular ages extremely well.
It's really so much better after it has to make
It's early to tell how it's going to develop over time, you know, but it will be really interesting. I'll have to, you know, God willing, I'm still around in 10 years. I'll have to come up and taste.
Yeah, we'll have it because we put wine away every year so we can have it.
We'll have to do a tasting of this is then and this is now and, you know, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get some sommeliers interested in this variety. What do you think about it? I like it.
I think it's a very versatile wine. I you know, I tasted it, you know, back when I was there in 2020 and everything, and I was, and I mean, and you know, I was like, oh, this is interesting, but it's really well developed. It's got nice structure. It's really got nice fruit. I think it's a good food wine.
I really love it. I think I want to pour like I said, right now it's 10:45 in the morning, but I want to pour myself a glass and later tonight and let the glass sit for a bit and and see how it develops, you know, or how it evolves as it opens up. The 2022 is still kind of, it's getting there, but the 2021 has changed since I opened it, you know, since I poured the glass. And I really do. I'm loving it. It's such I mean, I get kind of more of a food thing, but I'm all right with drinking this by itself.
But it's also it's not heavy like a Cabernet Sauvignon,
Right.
or even a Merlot. It's just enjoyable. It's
Yeah,
the
most people
acidity.
call it medium body.
Yeah,
It's a good
the acidity.
summer, too.
Head down on fire.
No, it's a good red for summer, you know, where, you know, you're looking for a good red to go and pair with something, or just to sit and, you know, and sip on, you know, I think it's a good red.
Yeah. To me, the acidity is so bright, like it's salivating, you know, it makes you want to come back. And it's not saying the acidity is out of balance. It's right in there, and the tannins are bringing, you know, that acidity back in line.
That's what it's been showing in the video. Like when we bring it in between 21 and 23 bricks.
Okay.
We use the numbers more just to know how we handle the fruit in the winery. It's mostly by taste and how the fruit looks and how long we can let it think it can just get better out there. But that the acids are normally 6. The TAs are normally 6 or better, which is great when you have that natural acidity in there. You know, you can always bump up the acidity, but it's really nice when it has its own acidity to start.
And is the 20? Oh, I don't have it. Is that the average alcohol? That 12.3 is that the average alcohol?
Yeah, almost. That's pretty average for all our wines. And I could see this one. You know, if we pick something that's 24 bricks, that's normally farther than we want it to go. We normally have good maturity before then. And then a lot of times, the majority of times, our seasons don't allow the sugars to get up that high. Because what we also have to watch is the acids start falling out. You know, your pHs are going up. So, you know, we kind of look for that balance.
And
It's like California wines in the 70s and 80s. How many bottles? They're 12.5%.
yeah. The trend is starting to go back.
Yes.
It is. There's a winery that I shall remain nameless, that we used to call a headache in a bottle, because it was like 17 labeled as 17% alcohol. Yeah. Now, other than the fact that, my gosh, you're the people who brought this in, you're the people who named it, you are the fathers of San Marco. What's your favorite thing about working with San Marco?
Well, for me, it pretty much grows on its own, and the disease resistance, the sustainability is really going to be the future. We need varieties that you don't have to use so much material in the vineyard. You know, you lose materials left and right, so the vine really has to be able to take care of itself. And the disease resistance is number one in the vineyard. The fruit load always looks good. The way the fruit hangs, you know, that looseness. And then starting from day one, it's been a dream to make the wine. Like, we haven't really had to do anything to it. You know, some wines, you got to make sure you put it in the right oak. You got to make sure you do certain things to it to make it really come around. So far, this one's been doing it all on its own.
For me, Jim mentioned all the things, and I would emphasize the fruit, because it's one of those few fruits where you've got oblong berries that are not touching each other. So there's plenty of air circulating. It's one of the reasons they're more disease resistant, and they're pretty big size. So if you just look down the row and you see these clusters just hanging, it's really beautiful, beautiful grape.
So, you know, there's other wineries that are growing the San Marco. Did they reach out to you?
They reached out usually to talk about, you know, planting it, et cetera. I'd like to hear a little bit more from them about how they're doing, and I plan to contact them. And one of them is in North Carolina, Ralph Aldini, and he concentrates on Italian varieties, and they even use the passamento technique. I don't know that they're going to need it for this, but they use it for many of theirs, and they're doing a great job, and I think this will fit well in their portfolio. And we plan to add this to our Pinot Grigio and our, what else do we have, Jim?
Franconia.
Okay.
And we'll have our Pinot Grigio, Franconia, San Marco and Trentina. So we'll have our own little Italian line.
So if there's any winemakers or vineyard managers that are interested in possibly growing San Marco, should they reach out to you?
They can. It's a good way, so we can educate them in any way they need it. But then we would pass them on to the AA vineyard. That's where they would buy the vines.
Okay.
But AA vineyard normally checks with us, like, how many vines do you think we should propagate this year, for next year? Mm-hmm. So the better handle we have on who's looking for the grape to plant, the better we can direct AA as to how many vines to propagate.
They're located in New York State. They have a beautiful website. And
where is that vineyard in New York?
Fredonia, New York.
Ooh, that's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't grow the grape there.
Okay.
No.
No, they propagate. They do the grafting for us.
They're the nursery.
Yeah, they're a nurse. They're a big. They grow a lot of Concord, in that region. Uh-huh. I think they have 300 acres of grape or more, but they're a big nursery. Yeah, you should check them out. It's anybody that grows grapes that doesn't know about AA, just their website alone has plenty of information on it.
Yeah, on the East Coast.
Yeah, wow. So they should contact you to learn all about everything and then go and.
Well, they can also buy the wine, although I'm not sure if I can say that.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, the wine's available for sale, and we ship to over 30 states. So, just check out our website.
That's
or
great.
Come and visit, even better.
Yeah, and actually, this is really nice. People should try it. It's thinking out of the box, something new, and something that grows well with minimal intervention.
Mm-hmm.
I have to give kudos because I always think that you being brave enough to say, I want to bring this vine, these vines over, and I want to grow this, and we're going to be the first people to grow this, and just go ahead and doing it. And then not only just doing it, but like kicking butt and taking names.
Well, thank you very much. One of the really nice things is Jim's family, at least on one side of the family, is from this area. Yeah. Mine is from the Abruzzo, further south. But
yeah, part of it is Larry, his persistency, because there's a lot to make all this happen, get the vines here, get them through quarantine, get them, and the other part is my background as a vegetable grower. You are always trying new varieties, new crops, new stuff. That's probably why we got 20 different varieties here. And not all of them are home runs. A lot of them never made it to first base. So you have to be willing to take that chance. And then fortunately, some days you're rewarded.
Some days you get that grand slam.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty much a grand slam. I mean, people need to know more about the grape. It's really,
thank you.
Really nice.
And so, Deb, go ahead. You got 19.
Oh, what are your future plans for the grape and at the winery?
Well, I would say, this is going to be one of our premier varietals that we'll emphasize for people to taste, and our uniqueness to getting it here and producing it. Our dream always is to have less labels and less varieties that we're growing, but I think that's a dream, because once you have something that's doing well, you're not going to pull it out. But as I see it, this and the Trentina are going to be kind of our focus. Like people talk about Bellview, oh yeah, their wines are really good, but you got to try that San Marco and Trentina.
Do you think you're going to make it your signature grape?
That's possible.
It's possible.
Signature wine. I should say signature wine.
We let the customers decide that, but I think from my point of view, it's definitely right up there. And we're also planning more. I mean, I have an acre and a half at Coia Vineyards. Bellevue has 2.5,
3 acres
3.
now.
So, we're pushing 5 acres, and that's a fair amount. We have, 20 varieties or more, but we don't have a whole lot that are planted where we have 5 acres of a single variety planted.
How many cases of the San Marco do you produce a year?
How many cases? Let me see. Well, I might.
It's going to be more, I can tell you that, because
It's,
we just planted another couple of acres.
It's probably, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. If we did 4 ton, it's probably 300 cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's limited. So if people really want to try this, they better get over and
Now would be a good time. Now would be a good time.
Is it cool in the tasting room when somebody comes in and you're like, okay, next I'm going to pour you San Marco, and then they have absolutely no clue what you're talking about, and then they taste it and they're like, oh man, like.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Like just to see the faces of people the very first time they're tasting a brand new grape variety for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned was that you like Côte d'Ivoire wines. We've grown Syrah here, and it does very well, except it has a virus that really does affect it, and it's red leaf disease after 4 or 5 years, and you have to pull them out after 10 years.
That is
This may be our new Syrah,
I definitely think it's a home run here.
Yeah, it is. I can see it being a Syrah replacement in the fact of how it is, how it's opening up in the glass. Mm-hmm. I can see it as being a Syrah, and you could even still make a GSM and keep it BS.
Yes.
Very good. I like that.
Well, before we let you go, we do treat people for an hour because we know how busy you are. Do you have anything that we forgot to ask you that you want people to know about San Marco or about Bellevue? And please tell them how they can find you, what your website is, if you have social media, any of that stuff, let people know how to find you.
And also where you're located in Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Bellview Winery, we are actually in Landisville, New Jersey. So the easiest way to describe that is Philadelphia and Atlantic City. You draw a line and we're right in the center. And this is agricultural country here. Our farm's 150 acres, all vegetable farms around, fruits, grape. Now there's quite a few vineyards in the area. Our Outer Coastal Plain, AVA, so we're federally designated as a grape growing region. You said about people tasting San Marco and having that surprise look. It's been 20-some years now. I've been pouring wines in the tasting room, and New Jersey, it's a winery. Let's go there. Why not? And then you can see when they taste that first wine, how it's like, ooh, this is pretty good. Light up, So that's been very rewarding for me through the years. So you go to our website, Bellview is BELLVIEW, winery.com. And check us out, and be more than happy to ship some San Marco out.
We have venue here for outdoor with performances. We have indoor. We're sitting in a nice air-conditioned room that probably seats over 62 people. There's an outdoor pagoda. It's very, very pleasant. Eventually, we might have a bed and breakfast next door.
Oh, nice.
So
we just
So
keep
they can
growing.
wake up and drink San Marco at 10 a.m. also.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and educating us on the San Marco grape. It's been wonderful, and you got a good thing going here.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Really do.
It's delicious.
Success
Thank
to
you.
your honor.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have a great day.
and thank you.
Thanks for having us
Have a
on.
good week. Have a great week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Coffee, banana, daiquiri, sweet myrrh.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt-Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Kevins. Until next week, slancha.
Glass of wine. No, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Never let you go. Oh, oh. No, no, no. Never let you go. Oh, oh. I want a nice glass right now.